Okay, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Yusuf Mustafa. I will presentation about problem-based interaction. Okay, for the description, problem-based inquiry is an effort to challenge students to address real-world problem and resolve realistic dilemmas. Such problem create opportunities for meaning activities that engage students in problem solving and hacker or other thinking in authentic settings. Many textbooks attempt to promote this skill through controversial setting without relevant to student lives or interests. Stated cognition, constructivism, social learning, and communities of practice are assumed theories of learning and cognition in problem-based inquiry environment. Okay, the next is characteristic. For the first, the characteristic is activity is grounded in a general question about a problem that has multiple possible answers and method for addressing the question. Each problem has a general question that guides the overall test, followed by a structured problem or question that are generated throughout the problem solving process. That is, in order to address the largest question, student must draft and investigate smaller problem or question that relate to the finding and implication of the broader goal. And the second is learning is student centered. The teacher acts as facilitator. In essence, the teacher creates an environment where students take ownership in the direction and content of their learning. In this scenario, the sample gives the student the overall problem and asks them to define the means by which they solve address it. The student develops a question to investigate, suggest method to collect data, and purpose of format for presenting their findings. And the third is student work collaboratively toward addressing the general question. Mr. Samples facilitates this type of environment by embracing the existence and development of a learning community. All of the students work together to attain the circle of producing a solution to the problem. Mr. Samples creates an environment in which mutual realize gives students an active voice and contribution toward reaching to the goal. The fourth is learning is driven by the context of the problem is not bound by an established curriculum. In this environment, students determine what and how much they need to learn in order accomplish a specific task. Consequently, acquired information and learning concept and strategies are tied directly to the context of the learning situation. Okay, for the next is instructional model and application. There is no single method for designing problem-based inquiry learning environment. Various techniques have been used to generate the problem and stimulate learning, promoting student ownership using a particular medium to focus attention, telling stories, simulation, and recreating event, and utilizing resource and data on the internet or among them. Three instructional models that implement problem-based inquiry will be discussed next with particular attention to instructional strategies and practical example. Okay, the next is the first for the model of problem basic instruction, and the first is problem basic learning. Problem basic learning, or PBL, is an instructional strategy in which students actively resolve complex problems in realistic situation. It can be used to teach individual lesson unit or even entire curricula. PBL is often approached in a team environment with emphasis on building skills related to consensual decision making, dialogue, and discussion, team maintenance, conflict management, and team leadership. Okay, for the design the learning environment, The following elements are commonly associated with PBL activities. The first is problem generation. The problem must address concepts and principles relevant to the content domain. Problems are not investigated by students slowly for problem solving experience, but as a means of understanding the subject area. Some PBL activities incorporate multidisciplinary approach, assuming the teacher can provide and coordinate needed resources such as additional content, instructional support, and other teachers. For the next is problem presentation. Student must own the problem, either by creating or selecting it. Ownership also implies their contribution affect the outcomes of solving the problem. Thus, more than one solution and more than one method of achieving in solution to the problem are often possible. Okay, the next is teacher role. Teacher act primarily as cognitive judge by facilitating learning and modeling Hager order thinking and metacognitive skill. As facilitators, teacher gives students control over how they learn and provide support and structure in the direction of their learning. Okay, the next and the last is student role. Student first define or select in will structured problem that has no obvious solution. They develop alternative hypotheses to resolve the problem and discuss and negotiate their conjectures in a group. Next, the access evaluate and utilize data from a variety of available sources to support of refute their hypothesis. They may alter, develop, or synthesis hypothesis in lack of new information. For that is an online example. Crime and punishment case negotiation in the criminal justice system. In this activity, students are asked to resolve a court case related to a drunk driving accident. The divided sum set run and red light into oncoming traffic and killed a passenger who wasn't wearing his seat belt. Students are asked to play the roles of the uh, prosecutor, defense attorney, victim, and defendant, and to determine a sort of action for this case. They weigh the evidence and issue a negotiation plan decision to drop some or all charge, or decision to go to trial and the original or reduce charges. To assist them in their role playing, the students are given a paragraph of information about the different roles they are to assume. Groups are asked to discuss the following question before role playing. Like, what legal issues will be involved in this case? What evidence will be important? What more do you need to know to negotiate a resolution to this case? After students assume their roles, they meet in smaller teams to address different options and strategies. They are provided with the following set of focus questions to help formulate their ideas. Like, what are you interested and priorities in the upcoming negotiation? What do you need to learn to be an effective negotiator of this case? What sorts make you consult to develop this knowledge? How will you allocate the responsibilities within your team to develop the required knowledge? A list of on the resources related to legal advice and drunk driving is available for students to use in gathering information to create and support their arguments. And the second is answer instruction. Answered instruction is a framework for learning the emphasis complex problem solving integrated learning context. Integrated learning context take on the form of drawing realistic connection, making learning meaningful for students and forming connection within and between content domains. Learning and teaching activities are designed around a anchor within is often a story, adventure, or situation that includes a problem or issue to be resolved and that is of interest to the student. Instructional material include resources students can easily explore, such as video, text, or interactive computer simulation, as they indicate how to solve a problem. Okay, for the design the learning environment, the following steps are commonly associated with answer instruction activities. And the first is introduce the answer. Create a situation, story, or experience with information that will engage to student in a complex problem. Students solve feel that their problem solving will serve a purpose such as contributing to the storyline by helping someone else or themselves. The presentation medium should be flexible enough to allow students to easily search for information. Those video discuss are more efficient than video tab and hypertext is preferable to regular text. The second is develop a shared experience around the answer. Students revisit the story or engage in activities and become more familiar with and knowledgeable about a particular concept. The teacher may initially provide more guidance in acquiring the concept, but ultimately, students assume control over the application of the concept to resolve a small problem within the actual storyline. Does it expand the answer? Students are given more autonomy to the independent on group search to clarify and locate hidden or missing information relevant to the problem. The information may be in the storyline itself or in related external resources. The next is use knowledge as tool for problem solving. Students use the information or clues in the answer and develop a plan to resolve the large problem. They may need to ask a sub question in order to discover additional information or patterns that will have complete out the overtext. Throughout this phase, the teacher probes student understanding and challenge student strategies to exam to examine their reasoning and scaffold the problem solving process. Okay, the next is work on project related to answer. Students explore related content presented in the answer to deepen their understanding of the concept and to connect their knowledge to other disciplines. They make read more about the subject area, explore a related story, engage in a related simulation, create a project, or design a website. Okay, and the last is share what was learned. Students present their finding on the problem as well as connection on their attended learning. This space allows students to make contribution to the learning community by sharing the strategies to resolve the overall problem. The teacher should emphasizing alternative problem solving method as well as common themes among the different groups to help synthesize and broaden understanding. Okay, for the third is web quest. A web quest is a web-based inquiry-oriented activity through which students examine evidence about a particular topic and then respond to an issue or make a decision from a particular point of view. The activity is grounded in an open-ended question based on a realistic event or applied context that can facilitate multiple reaction of viewpoints. Quest, web quests often address problems, but often simply attempt to promote awareness and representation by activities such as producing a variety show that capture chapter the life behind people in the Renaissance. Students use a series of links completed by the teacher to learn about the overseeing question while gathering evidence. They will support their argument or defend their point of view. Okay, for the design the learning environment. The following elements are commonly associated with web quest activities. The first is introduction. Background information is provided in context for the activity is set the problem or controversy and its origin are discussed. The second is task. An interesting question or dilemma with multiple interpretation is created. Students can take on their own perspective or role play to find strategies to defend a particular position. In this section, the goal and purpose of the activity are outlined so the study understand what they are expected to accomplish by completing the activity. Research is process. The step learners should consider to accomplish the goal of the activity are described. General strategies are reviewed about finding useful resource, organizing information, interaction, and forming conclusion with team members, and using guidelines for final presentation or product. The teacher provides guidance question that will help students think about the situation and reflect on their roles. But excessive structure that could limit student creativity and extension should be avoided. Okay, and the next is resources. Links are provided to external web resources that will help students think about different factors and perspectives in the influence the overall problem. This link should be organized or another to so that students understand the type of information each link provided. Additional source can be suggested if available, such as access to expert source or practical that may not be available online. The next is evaluation. A grading rubric is created so that students understand what is expected of them and how they will be assessed. Both the student products and process in the activity may be included as part of the grading scheme. Product Products may include the content of a project, argument in a presentation, and quality of supporting work. Process can include research strategies, organization, and collaborative effort. The last is conclusion. The learning experience is summarized and student accomplishment are reviewed. Students are reminded of what they have learned through the activity. The boundaries of the activity may be extended by asking reflection and extension question for students to consider for the potential learning pursuits. Connections are drawn to student lives, current event, or related topics in the curriculum. Okay, for the next is an online example. Searching for HTTP in here. In this activity, students examine the foreign policy tensions between the US and China, and then propose a plan that benefits both people from both countries. Students are placed into groups that must investigate and present the issues from the viewpoints of various interested parties such as business investors, human rights activities, and United States senators. Each group develop an action plan that will address foreign policy based on a negotiation of their assigned perspectives. Developing such a report requires that they acquire an understanding of foreign relation with China from these different roles, and then gather evidence to create a compromise plan that will reflect all of principal perspective. Their group report are to pres- present their follows will addressing issues such as spiritual understanding, world peace, economic growth, and preservation of cultural treasures. Okay, for the last is conclusion and implication. Problem-based inquiry approach to learning provide students with strategies and expressing they empower them to become critical consumer of information and tackle authentic problems through group problem solving. Will these attributes help students prepare for active citizenship in rapidly changing world? The structure of most schools often hinder the implementation of problem-based inquiry models. Pragmatic factors such as class broad length, access to resources, standardized testing issues, and the activity in typical school they affect when is learned. Cultural, cultural factor such as the student-teacher relationship, the teacher and text as expert source, and student responsibility affect how learning occurs. Do several implication as concluding the need to restructure education in order to fully adopt and obtain the learning benefit associated with problem-based inquiry. Finally, teacher must rethink their roles from instructor to facilitator and collaborator. Generally, teachers determine what and how students learn from their subject area knowledge and from primary sources such as textbook. An advantage to this situation is that students receive similar learning experience that can be accurately and consistently measured according to series of objectives. However, learning in this situation is based on the teacher and textbook author follows regarding which topic are important. Okay, thank you. That all of about my presentation. Enough for me. Wa Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.